ओम ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। यन्नित्यमानन्दमनन्तमेकं शिवेति नाम्ना श्रुतयो गृह्णन्ति तस्यावतारो नररूपधारी कृपासुदाब्धि भुवि रामकृष्णः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। सत्यव्रतं सत्यपरं त्रिसत्यं सत्यस्य योनिं निहितं च सत्ये सत्यस्य सत्यं मृतसत्यनेत्रं सत्यात्मकं त्वां शरणं प्रपन्नाः। यैरिमे गुरुभिः पूर्वं पदवाक्यप्रमाणतः व्याख्याता सर्ववेदान्ताः तान् नित्यं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहं। यस्यात्मभूतस्य गुरोः प्रसादाद् अहं विमुक्तोऽस्मि शरीरबन्धाद्। सर्वोपदेष्टुः पुरुषोत्तमस्य तस्याङ्घ्रियुग्मं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यं। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। We are seeing religious history as the evidence for the Vedic assertion Satyameva Jayate. We have seen lives of great people described in the scriptures, and we are seeing now lives of great people in the history of India. As I told in the last class, history can be segregated in two types. One is religious history, another is secular history. Religious history means wherein the divinity comes and does some leela. Even though they are historical people, Bhagavan comes and plays in their life. Those life histories are called religious history. And we saw in the last class the lives of Nayanmars. Each one of them were committed to one small promise. Somebody was committed to feeding the sadhus, somebody was committed to washing the cloths of the sadhus, somebody was committed to do pranam to the sadhus, somebody was committed to do puja, somebody was committed to put incense sticks, like that, small vows. But up to the end of their life, since they practiced, Bhagavan himself intervenes in their life and makes their life as an immortal life. Those type of people, historical giants, religious historical giants. General man may reject the people who are told in the Hindu scriptures, that is Veda, Puranas and Itihasas, telling that these are all mythological personalities. If you ask them, what do you mean by mythology? He has his own definition. What do you mean by history? He has his own definition. So historians say history is something. If we get something as tangible proof, either broken parts or some sort of tangible things, we don't accept books as the tangible proof for existence of that personality. But according to Hindu culture, we don't accept those broken parts as the tangible proof. Why, Anybody can plant broken parts. Duryodhana himself did. He says to poets, you write nicely about me and strewn here and there. Any mischievous Raja can do it, correct? One who knows the ways of society. Anybody can write nice things in a pot or in rocks and try to plant it. That was mentioned in the even Gita also. Bhagavan says, Arjuna, you want to run away. But what these fellows will tell you now? They will simply suppress the fact. The fact, for what purpose you are going to run away? You are having compassion towards your relatives. Therefore you don't want to kill them. But what they will tell you now? Avachya Vadam. They will write all sorts of things against you and plant it as history also. Therefore don't do that like that. So that historians consider as proof, Vedic society doesn't consider it as proof. Suppose, for example, somebody comes and says that your grandfather name is so and so. How you know, sir? From your house land, we found one small pot. It is written like that. So and so is the father of so and so. Like that. Therefore, your grandfather's name is so and so. Suppose I ask my parent, is it true? My grandfather is so and so? Suppose my mother says, no, that's not. That may be someone. So now, whose words I will take? For the existence of grandfather, whose words I will take? Certainly not historians' words. Certainly I have to take the words of my mother. What is the reason? Because historians may do false thing, but mother will not tell lie. That is the hope. Same thing is there. This is the tug of war between the Vedic community and the historians. In India itself, majority of Indians convinced that Rama existed in the land. But one part of the community says, you all tell that Rama built the Sedu. Did Rama was engineer? One person asks. Funny thing. So a simple fact, a person need not be engineer to build a bridge. You accept? He can employ some other engineers and build the bridge. Raja need not be engineer to build the bridge. Correct? A king need not be engineer to build a dam. That Karikal Soran is there. One dam is there. Pumbukar. So can you ask, was Karikal Soran was an engineer? You cannot ask that. Funny thing it is. This is the example. For what? What is the proof that so and so personality existed? In Vedic culture, the proof is words of the great rishis and mahatmas. Words, simple words. But in modern history, these words doesn't have any meaning because they themselves know words are not truth. Got the point? Because he is not aware of the existence of people who can give up their life for the sake of truth. So he is surrounded by the liars. Therefore he considers that society was generally full of liars. Therefore we cannot take the words of any person. This rule they apply everywhere, and they have segregated the life incidents of great Mahatmas as mythological, historical. We don't have any problem. Whether you accept Rishi's words or you accept broken parts words. I have example for both the category. For what purpose example? I have evidence for both the category. For what evidence? Satyameva Jayate. Whether you consider that person as a mythological person or as a historical person, but this rule applies universally at all time. A man of truth alone conquers, gets success in life. So we have seen varieties of lives in the scriptures, and now we are seeing from the history. So fortunately they have accepted the existence of 63 Nayanmars and Alvars. Because before that this also was not accepted. Slowly science is developing, and they are having a lot of proofs with carbon dating. Still some category doesn't accept it, those things. So before Christ 2000 years from Abraham onwards, and after Christ now 2014 years. That is the general opinion. Now slowly it is going away. Whatever it may be the classification, we have proof for the Vedic assertion that a man of truth alone is successful in life. So in the last class we saw, after the Krishna's passing away, Kali Yuga started. Then at the beginning of the Kali Yuga, that Mudal Alvars they call, initial Alvars. Pei Alvar, Poige Alvar, like that. So all the Alvars and the Nayanmars, they all have complete commitment, absolute commitment for the value called truth. Then after the Alvars, we saw Acharyas, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya. Then Dasa Parampara we saw. One example only I gave, because if I count that will be separate topic. They are all Bharata Ratnas. Now lot of debate is going on. Whom to be given Bharata Ratna? These people should be given Bharata Ratna. Every Nayanmar should be given Bharata Ratna. Every Alvar. Ratna means what? Precious thing. Who happen to be precious thing in this culture? Real Ratnas are those people who were committed for values of humanity. Those who have committed, those who are ready to sacrifice for the sake of values in human life. They are real Ratnas. So their life cannot be exhausted, and we have thousands and thousands of people in that category. Each parampara, each sampradaya, each Guru Parampara has galaxies of personalities, great personalities. So if you take Tamil Nadu culture, Nayanmars and Alvars. If you take Maharashtra culture, Dasa Parampara, Ekanada Swami, Kabir Das, like that, Dasa Parampara. Then after Dasa Parampara, we find there was a gloomy situation in the Indian continent up to 1830s. Here and there some Mahatmas came out and they tried to regenerate the society with regard to values and devotion. But still, in totality, this was a dark age of Indian history. Because of slavery, due to sultans and Mughals imposed on this country and the people, entire society and its nature has gone through lot of changes. Then slowly Western culture and Western values was about to engulf this Indian society. There came a luminary in the form of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. You can see, if you study Indian history, it was utter despair. When sultans invaded this country, there was a pride and self-dignity in the minds of the people that we belong to something grand, that our culture is grand, therefore at the cost of our life we should protect our culture. That was the strength of resistance. Slowly what happened? Slowly, because of persecution and poverty and illiteracy, because of obstacle in the flow of knowledge to the masses, slowly everybody started thinking that we are born here to be ruled. We are born here to be ruled as slaves. Slowly people accepted slavery, and they have accepted even external cultures as their own culture, and the entire Indian society was in despair. Which direction it should be guided, nobody knows. So people who wanted to do something to the society, they have imitated other cultures, brought here and there something like Brahma Samaj. Keshav Chandra Sen was one among them. So they started imitating the Christian values and Christian culture and other things, so that it can be palatable. You can present to the Western world like that. Attempts were made to regenerate, but it was all full of despair. In this condition of despairity, Bhagavan again demonstrated his promise, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami. Yada yada hi glanihi dharmasya bhavati tadatmanam srijamyaham. This was the promise given by Bhagavan in Gita. So same Bhagavan has manifested in the form of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. In his life he find lots of proof for his commitment for the value called truth. He was an embodiment of truth. According to him, being a honest person is the only possible tapas in Kali Yuga. In a beautiful Bengali, he used to say, Shotya Katha Kali Yuge Tapash. Shotya Katha Kali Yuge Tapash. In Kali Yuga, you cannot do any other tapas other than being a honest person. We may tell that itself problem, Swami. You don't know? According to Sri Ramakrishna, standing on one leg, trying to live without eating food for 1 month or 20 days, or upside down standing, or doing what you call varieties of Agni tapas, so many other types of tapas like torturing the body and other thing, is not possible because Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Annagata pranaha. Human life is what? Annagataha. It is completely controlled by food. In those days, people had enough power to withstand that hunger, but nowadays that power is not there. Therefore, one should not hurt his body in the name of tapas. So in Kali Yuga, in modern days, the possible tapas is being honest. Shatya Katha Kali Yuge tapas was his message. And in another place he said, all religious and spiritual disciplines are meant for only one end. If you ask what is the end, Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna says, Mon mukh ek karo. Mon mukh ek karo. Make your mind and speech in a straight line. There should not be any conflict between your thoughts and the words. That means again, truth is insisted here. All religious and spiritual values, spiritual disciplines are meant for this particular value called being honest in our life. So let us see today how grand he was in demonstrating this particular value, that Satyameva Jayate. You cannot say Sri Ramakrishna's life was a failure. Can anyone dare to say this? Can anyone dare to say Sri Ramakrishna's life was a failure? Nobody can say. Even a most secularistic critic also will not tell that Sri Ramakrishna's life was a failure. So everyone bows down their head. You might have known that in an assembly governed by the secular communist party in West Bengal, in an assembly which is run by Communist Party in West Bengal, 30 years before, whose photo was installed, you know? Mother Sarada Devi's photo was installed in the West Bengal assembly. And everybody wondered, how can you accept Mother Sarada Devi? What was the reply, you know? She was the most truthful woman from West Bengal. Then if Sarada Devi comes, means again Sri Ramakrishna will come. Swami Vivekananda came very later. Understand? So, we don't want to quarrel among three who is great and other thing. All the three are one. What I want to say is, nobody, even the most materialistic person, the communism doesn't have any higher goal in life in the form of religion or spirituality. It doesn't advocate, according to its philosophy, it doesn't advocate any higher existence after death. It's all concerned about the physical existence of the humanity and society. It advocates the equality and other social justice and other things. Even that type of community can recognize the lives of Sri Ramakrishna and Sarada Devi as a model life. That means what? It is a successful life. So, let us see how this successful life was governed by the value called truth. You might have studied Sri Ramakrishna's life, therefore I am going to hint here and there and just go through. His very birth was in the family of a truthful person, Satyasandaha. His father was persecuted because he was truthful person. His father lived in a village called Dere. There one zamindar was angry with another person in the village. So he has filed a case, false case, and judge asked, what is the proof? Who is the proof for this case? So the zamindar requested Kshutiram, who happened to be Sri Ramakrishna's father. The zamindar requested this Kshutiram to tell false witness on behalf of him. Kshutiram asked, how can I do, sir? What you say is false. How can I do? No, you have to do. No, I cannot do. Then you cannot live. Same thing. 150 years also, before also. So you cannot live here. No problem, I don't want to live. See the guts. So the person refused to be a false witness. Therefore, Kshutiram was persecuted. In what we know, he was exiled from the village. They have taken all the ancestral property. Simply they have sent him out of village. And one day, the Kshutiram became person on the road. So, Sri Ramakrishna's father was embodiment of truth, and it is exactly justified that Bhagavan, who has come here in these modern days to establish truth, has taken that type of person as his father. After the birth, when Sri Ramakrishna was getting initiated into sacred thread ceremony. Sacred thread ceremony. So, one lady used to be there in their house. Her name was Dhani. She was a woman belonged to blacksmith community. So, in those days, they used to consider that community as a lower caste. But Sri Ramakrishna used to call her mother. She knew that limitations of the social custom. So she used to say, no, don't call me as mother. Your relatives will punish you and they will punish me also. Don't call me as mother. But Sri Ramakrishna insisted, no, you are mother because you are the one who has seen me first. When Sri Ramakrishna born, Dhani only assisted this Sri Ramakrishna's mother. So, he was loving that Dhani. Then that Dhani asked, do you mean that I am your mother? Certainly you are my mother. Then, will you take Bhiksha when you are going to get sacred thread ceremony like that? She asked. Then Sri Ramakrishna told, why not? Since you are my mother, since any child who is getting initiated into sacred thread ceremony should get the Bhiksha from mother, you are my mother, therefore I will certainly take from you, like that. He has given word. This happened 3-4 years before that ceremony. Then they were arranging the ceremony. He told, my first Bhiksha will be from Dhanima. They said, what? Dhani? So entire village was simply shouted like anything. It is impossible because village people have to be there to bless the child in those days. Nowadays the ceremony itself doesn't happen. Even if it happens one day before marriage. Okay. So people forgotten this sacred thread ceremony. So in those days it was all very, very important for a boy who is born in that family, Brahmin family. So everybody objected, no, it is impossible. Sri Ramakrishna was very adamant. Gadadhar, his name was. He was very adamant. He told, never. I am taking initiation in order to follow truth. How can I take initiation breaking the truth? What was the intelligence you see? How can I take initiation after breaking the truth? Words I have given, promise given to this mother. It is impossible. Like that, he was very firm, and the entire village had to accept it afterwards. So, his commitment was something very grand. Then next, we see him in schools. He was admitted to a school. In those days, the village old schools. Tolls, they call it. Actual education happened there only. Real educations happened there. It's all informal, examless, mark cards less, pressure less, homework less, syllabus less schools. The literatures produced by this community, by this system, is the proof for the knowledge of this community. The community has produced the literatures. You take any language, it has produced literatures. That is the proof for the knowledge acquired by the school system called toll system. Now lot of exams, homeworks and assignments, knowledge doesn't happen. Knowledge doesn't happen. But in those days, for appearance, it is very, very simple place, but real knowledge has taken. One Macaulay was there. That person understood the grandness of these tolls, so he has written a letter to British government. As long as this toll system education is there, you cannot make this India as your slave country. And in 1834, Macaulay system introduced in India. Till date, it is successfully going on. You see, still date, all our educated people dream to be what? Dream to be someone who is working under MNC. Understand? So, in that education system, Sri Ramakrishna was admitted. That old education system. He asked one day teacher, "Sir, what do you mean by education?" We had definitions for everything, you know. The teacher told, "Sa vidya ya vimuktaye." The teacher told, "Sa vidya ya vimuktaye." That is called education, which will make you free. Beautiful. Then, sir, why you are asking me to by heart all these mantras? Being Brahmin boy, he was asked to learn that puja mantras. The teacher told, unless you learn mantras, how can you perform puja? Unless you perform puja, how can you get salary? Salary? So puja is for salary, not for freedom. Then he declared, I don't want an education which is going to give salary. Then the teacher was wondering, what? What do you say? Just now you told, sir. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye. That is called education. That is going to make you free. And now you are telling, by this education I am not going to become free. I will be a salaried person. So therefore I don't want bread-winning education. What a declaration. If your child says this declaration in your house, then you will know the intensity of this statement. Suppose second standard child says, I don't want your nurseries and other things. I am going to tread a path of education which is going to make me Jivan Mukta. Like that, suppose your child says, what you will do? What you will do? You will take that child to the pujari and tell to that pujari, some ghost might have entered in this boy's mind, something, woman, ill woman, ketta vaarthayellam pesuran kolande. Like that he will tell. But when this child told, his brother, elder brother got astonished. What? You will not go for education? Yes, I will not go for this education. I will have another type of education. Like that he declared and refused to go to education. Because when he found the so-called education is not going to help him in getting freedom, then life situation has brought him to a temple where his elder brother was a pujari, Dakshineshwara temple complex. There this boy, Gadadhar, saw many people going to temple and doing that archana with small banana and coconut, and a lot of list are given, dhanam dhanyam pashum bahuputra labham, like that. And he was finding very curious. Hey, what is this? Somebody is sitting there or standing there. These fellows go like a local taluk office. People are standing in queue, and application is given and sanctioned. Again, somebody goes and thank you, sir. Like that, it is. That means the person who is inside the temple must be alive. Then, when everybody went out, he went inside and saw the Murti of Kali. All the people from morning to night, they were rushing towards that Murti only. Then he asked that Murti, are you real? Are you Mrinmayi or Chinmayi? That was a question. Because I cannot worship someone who happened to be a false entity. So people worship you. I don't know with what intention they worship you. But I want to know whether you really exist or not. Otherwise, worshipping a non-existing entity will be a lying life. Therefore, I will not do that. Oh, mother, if you are really existing, please reveal to me. If you don't reveal to me, there is no point in living at all. Therefore, I am going to give up my life itself. Like that, he went and took the sword of the Murti and about to cut his head. So, in order to know whether the existence of the Lord is truthful one or not, he was ready to give up his life itself. That was the commitment for truth. And while doing varieties of spiritual and religious sadhanas, he happened to know that any mind which has a value for wealth and sensory pleasures is not a qualified mind for freedom. What was the teaching he received? Any mind which has value for wealth and sense pleasures is not a qualified mind. As even we hear this, there will be something cockroach will be in our mind. Ayyo, like that. But this mind has taken directly, yes, since I am the seeker of freedom, I will not have value for wealth and sensory pleasures. So I will consider the gold, which happened to be a symbol of wealth, and the ordinary mud as equal thing. And I will consider all women, opposite gender, as my mothers. This was the resolution in his mind. What he did, you know? He took some golden coins, sat on the bank of the Ganga. In one hand, coins, another hand, mud. In Bengali, coin was called taka. Taka means money. Mud is called mati. Taka mati, taka mati, taka mati, taka mati. Like that japa he did. Taka is equal to mati. Money is equal to mud. Can anyone say this? Even your child will not tell. 2-year-old child will not tell. Because the child knows without money, the shop wallet will not give 5-star chocolate. Papa, give money. You imagine, a child wants 5-star chocolate. The shop wala asks 5 rupees. Child takes 5 stones, suppose. Uncle, take it. Hey, what is this? Taka mati. What he will tell? Stones are not money, my dear. That is in the story of Sri Ramakrishna, not in reality. So according to Sri Ramakrishna, what was the reality? Money is equal to mud. Therefore, he could not touch money in his entire life. Swami Vivekananda heard this incident after some 30 years. After 30 years of this incident, Swami Vivekananda heard this. These are all bluff, cock and bull stories. What will happen if he touches money? No, everybody told, no, he cannot touch that. It is impossible for him to touch. How? Any object is there, if you put someone's hand, it will touch only. How it is possible? No, it is very impossible. If suppose accidentally the body touches metal or anything, then body becomes paralytical. As though paralysis has come, like that it becomes. For Narendra, modern mind and skeptical and English educated mind, these things appeared as a cock and bull story. What he did, simply 2-3 coins he has held inside the bed, below the bed. When Sri Ramakrishna went to temple, by the time he came back to this room, so the Narendra kept some coins inside the under the bed. So Sri Ramakrishna, like child, he came. Whenever he goes to temple, he becomes child. Because mother is there, so he talks to her, Divine Mother, and in that spiritual atmosphere he comes. So like child, smilingly he came, and he about to sit. As even he sat there, he shouted as though he was stung by a scorpion. He was telling, hey, maybe some scorpion must be there in the bed. Scorpion? Which scorpion? Others did not know. This mischief of Narendra was not known to others. So they were searching for scorpion. Then scorpion was not there. What was there? 2-3 coins were there. Who has done? What is this? Why money has come under my bed like that? Then Narendra came forward and asked pardon. I only have tested you, sir. Whether your life is according to your words, I only have tested you. So Taka was Mati, that was the understanding. Therefore, whole life he could not value this money. Then all women happened to be the embodiment of Divine Mother. That was his understanding. So one day he was bowing down to someone. Other disciples saw she was none other than a public woman. Then everybody, these other devotees were there, na? Other devotees from Orthodox family. Some ladies were there. What is this nonsense? This Paramahamsa is going to bow down to a public woman, a characterless person, is getting pranam from whom? From Paramahamsa. Now also, if you see any sannyasi is bowing down to someone whose character is questionable, will you accept? Will you accept? Nobody will accept. He was addressing that woman, Mother, in this form today you have given me darshan. And his commitment for truth was well known. Therefore, Mathur Babu wanted to test it. So he sent women with questionable characters to his room and wanted to know what is the response. What was the response? The response was so grand. According to his truthful life, the response was so grand. He addressed them as mothers and bowed down to them and made them really his mothers. And not only that, this understanding is all-pervasive understanding. Women are embodiment of divinity. Women are embodiment of Divine Mother Kali. That was his understanding. Which women? All women. In that all women category, who comes? Sarada Devi also comes. Wife also comes. When wife came to his place, when she was 19 years, and he was just 37-year-old person, young man, when 19-year-old wife comes and asks, how you consider me? The reply from this grand personality is what? I consider the mother in the temple and the mother who gave birth to this body and the mother who is holding on my feet as same. Not only these are all mere words, he made her to sit on the platform which is meant for a deity and did literally puja. Shodashi puja, worship of Divine Mother with 16 puja materials. The Divine Mother name was Rajarajeshwari. Not only he worshipped his wife as his mother, as Divine Mother, he has offered all the results of his tapas to her. So that was the commitment of this grand person to the truth. And we see one day he went to his friend's house, Shambhu Malik. He was suffering out of stomach pain, and while speaking to him, he told this, now and then I get stomach pain. The Shambhu Malik told, don't worry, I will give you medicine while going to temple, while going to your residence, you take from me without forgetting. Like that, he assured. Sri Ramakrishna also told, all right, I will take. While going, I will take medicine from your hands. So they talked and forgot the entire thing. And in evening, sunset over. So Sri Ramakrishna said goodbye, went. While going again, he got stomach pain. So he came back and saw the Shambhu Malik's house gate was closed. So he shouted, some watchman came. Then he told to that watchman, like that he told. Then the watchman told, he has gone for rest, so we don't need to disturb him. I will give that medicine. Like that he brought and gave the medicine. As even he received the medicine in his hands and wanted to proceed towards his temple complex where his room was there, he was not able to see anything. Everything is all dark. Then backside he sees, backside is nice, everything is seen. Front side he was not allowed to even move one step. Then he was wondering what happened. Then when he wanted to go back, the path is clear. If he wanted to go back towards his room, the path was not clear. Suddenly, in his mind, there came a remembrance. He remembered that, oh, I gave word that I will take medicine from you. To Shambhu Malik, I gave word that I will take medicine from your hands. Instead of taking medicine from his hands, I have taken medicine from the worker's hand. Therefore, it is a lie. When we hear this story, what is the thought process in our mind? Truly, you ask yourself. Allah ennappa avarkitta vaangana enna or velakkarkitta vaangana enna. Whether you take from the owner or from the staff, what is the difference? It's all what greatness. That is the level of subtlety of truthfulness. Once he told to Naren, you come so and so date at so and so time. Naren came half an hour before. It was informed to Sri Ramakrishna. If you would have visited the Dakshineshwar temple complex, you know his room is little away from the main gate. So Sri Ramakrishna, even though he wanted to talk to Naren, at the same time he did not want to see his face. So gate is closed, both cannot see their face, but that side Narendra was standing and this side Sri Ramakrishna was standing and talking that particular half an hour. When the exact time which was told to Narendra came, then only Sri Ramakrishna only opened the gate. Then everybody saw, what madcap you are, such a scorching sun and so much of heart is there. You are also under the sun and he is also under the sun. Why this much of unwanted things? When they asked, it seems Sri Ramakrishna told, no. It is not unwanted thing. Satya is not unwanted thing. When I say something, it is 100%. I cannot go against my words. Whether it is told as promise or casual. When he was having sore throat, he wanted to have a lemon juice. a soothing one, doctors also prescribed. So he requested one devotee to give some 3 or 4 lemon from his garden. So the devotee told, no problem, please send anyone, I will give it. Baburam Maharaj, Swami Premanandaji Maharaj was sent to that garden to fetch the lemon. When Premanandaji went, that time that house owner was not there. Therefore they told, whatever you want, you take, please take. So he has taken some 10 or 12 lemon and came. Sri Ramakrishna saw, how many lemon? 10 or 12. No. You have stolen 8 or 9 lemon. No, I did not steal. They only told, whatever you want, you take. Then Sri Ramakrishna told, no, I got permission only for 3 or 4. Please go back and give. Going back means 4 kilometers walking. If you tell these things to your children, what he will tell? All right, mummy, he will tell. And come out with that 8 or 9 lemons, throw it on the road, giving back. Who will go 4 kilometers and giving back? Here itself I have given back. Like that he will throw. You see the disciple's truthfulness. Disciple walks again 4 kilometers. One day, Latu Maharaj was asked to bring one particular type of sweet from one particular shop. On the way, Latu Maharaj, Swami Adbhutanandaji, happened to see the house of Balaram Bose house. You know that. If you have studied Sri Ramakrishna's life, who is this Balaram? This Balaram Bose was very close to Guru Maharaj. So this Latu thought, instead of purchasing from that shop, it is nice to bring same thing from Balaram Bose house. So he went to Balaram Bose house and told like this, Guru Maharaj told to purchase that particular seed. They told, no, that shop is not good at all. We will prepare nicely, cleanly, with all devotion. Like that they nicely prepared and gave that sweet. Then Latu brought it and offered to the master, offered to Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was about to take that, but he was not able to take at all. Then he wondered, hey, any mischief you have done? No, Gurudev, nothing I did. What Latu thought, if any Uchishta is there, Sri Ramakrishna cannot take. That was the mischief, Latu thought. No, I have not taken anything, no Uchishta. Because children, when you ask the children to bring something, if it is nice, like certain portion they will put in their mouth and they will show, that cannot be done with Sri Ramakrishna. So, any mischief? No. Then why I am not able to take? Then he asked, from where you brought? From Balaram Bose house. Oh, that is the reason mother is not allowing me to take this. These are all the sample incidents in Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna's life. Their commitment for this value called truth is 100%. Like Sri Rama's commitment for truth. Till date, people are scolding Rama because he has sent out Sita to the forest. Correct? But only Sita knows, and other rishis know that it is a grand act in a person's life. For the sake of truth, a person can give up something which is most precious thing in his life, and for that precious thing, the person has fought with Rakshasas, built the bridges in the ocean and gave up everything. That precious thing he is ready to give up for the sake of truth. So the grandness of the commitment of truth is understood by Sita and other rishis, but till date world is not able to understand. Till date they blame Sita was sent by Rama to forest, like that. So when we hear these type of stories, it sounds in some minds silly. கடையில் வாங்கினா என்னப்பா, வீட்டில் கொடுத்தா என்ன, ஏதோ கொடுத்தாங்க சாப்பிட்டு போக வேண்டியது தானே. தமிழில் சொன்னால் நல்லா இருக்கும் இதெல்லாம். Whether it is given by devotee or shop, both are free item only. So both are free item only. What is there like that? that is the level of mind now in the society we are living na. Teaching Sri Ramakrishna's commitment towards the truth to the modern society, progressive, educated, intelligent modern society is like teaching cleanliness to a pig. Don't take it seriously, it's an example. After hearing about the value of cleanliness, what the pig will tell? What it will tell? Generally it will not understand. Even if it understands, what it will tell? Some good pigs are there, it will tell what? Oh, this type of clean animals were there, it seems. Acha, we will live our life. Good pigs. Some normal pigs are there. What this fellow is talking? Did he know the grandness of the gutter water where I am living? Some pigs will tell. So that is the condition of piggish mind. The mind in the modern society is so much polluted, you cannot even explain these things. And a person, as even he grows in his spiritual life, as even he grows in values, then he will see, oh, this is a beacon light. It is a great star. It's a sun shining in front of me as the example for truth, as the example for what you call honest life. That is why you will have devotees for Sri Ramakrishna, only a level of matured people. Swami Vivekananda used to say, you cannot be a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna and at the same time try to live ordinary sensory life. Understand? You can never be. That is why our elders used to say, our Devata, Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna is Devata for sadhus. Devata for, not sannyasins. Devata for sadhus. Whether he is a sannyasi or householder, if his mind is with sattva guna, that mind alone can understand the grandness of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna's life. Everybody can understand the grandness of Venkatachalapati because Vairamudi is there. But here, not even proper cloth is there. So how will understand the grandness? It's all grandness of truth, grandness of renunciation and utter spirituality. That's why Swamiji used to call Sri Ramakrishna as Avatara Varishtaya. The Varishtatva, the supremacy is not in external things. It is in the spiritual value. So with this we conclude religious historical evidences. And in the next class we will see secular historical evidences who were succeeded in their life, even in business, in normal life, by holding on to truth. That stories we will see in the next class. Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satyasya Yonim Nihitancha Satye Satyasya Satyam Rata Satyanetram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapannaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsad Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.